Bradfield, Taggart. Slacker Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the first ever Slacker podcast. Thank you so much for downloading it. Hope all's good in the prospective hoods, wherever it is you may be. My name is Phil Taggart, and I guess some sort of introduction is probably a good idea right about now. If I don't introduce myself, it's basically like me walking up to you in the street and just shouting what I do in your face, which isn't a good idea, is it? I'm a Northern Irish music broadcaster. I've got a couple of shows on in the evenings on BBC Radio 1. There's one called The Chilla Show on Sunday night if you want to have a listen to that. Look at that for cross promo. I also have been playing in bands for ages. I've been playing in them since I was a kid. I've stopped now. I was a pretty mediocre bass player. More of a show-off than a player, truth be told. But mainly, I've got a fairly healthy fascination with musicians, artists, and kind of the origin story. Figuring out where it all began for them, whether that's sonically, whether that's like as a band, all the warts and all bits is the things that I like. And we're going to get into the early demos as well. That is what the Slacker podcast is all about, and that is the reason it was born. I really wanted to sit down with the great and the good of the music industry and get them to play through and talk through some of their first ever demos. Actually, for the first show, we have got MSPpedia's first ever demo of Motorcycle Emptiness, which is very, very, very special. But we will get to that in a minute. I started recording these interviews back in January, and I'm finally getting myself into gear to get these podcasts out. I'm just back from honeymoon. I barely even know what anything is. I weigh about 17 stone more than I already did, but thank God it's coming out. The first guest on the Slacker podcast is the MSPpedia, and they're a band I got into when I was a little kid. I remember seeing the video for If You Tolerate This, Your Children Will Be Next. It came on the TV. It scarred me for life, but here I am after watching all of those humans with no eyes or mouths. It was fucking weird. Also, their track Masses Against the Classes, Motown Junk. It's exactly what angsty teenage boys need in their lives. Like, I had my Converse shoe, a Tip-X pen, and so many Manics lyrics that I could paint on top of it. I mean, I might get back into it now, but it looks a bit older when you're my age now. This is the Virginal Podcast, and in this one we talk about the controversy, the chaotic live shows, the music, and the anti-establishment nature of the Manic Street Preachers.
Me in particular was up for confrontation at any point.
Yeah.
We'd done a gig in Blackwood Little Theatre early on, and now it turned into a riot. This is back home.
A proper riot as well. It wasn't
What,
riot,
like the cops were called and
yeah, everything.
I know, but like you've got half the nation hating you and the other half going, "Oh, this is amazing! This is incredible to watch."
Yeah, it was the peak
On
of
TV.
our nihilism. It is actually a state of mind record. You can't fake it. So when we played it, it wasn't the most enjoyable tour we've ever done.
Before we get going, this is a brand new podcast, so if you have the time to share it, like it, subscribe to this podcast, maybe leave it a little comment underneath it, maybe rate it as well. 5 stars, eh? It's basically like you're able to do a full-on work evaluation of me. You are my boss, and I need evaluating, so please do it. Right, let's go. Slacker Podcast, episode 1, with the Manic Street Preachers. Nicky, James, how's it going? You all right?
Not too bad, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, all right. Good to be here.
what's-
Deepest Soho.
What's going on? Are you down from Wales for a bit?
Yeah, we drove up yesterday and just, the promo run, getting back. Our brains are kind of shifting into a different kind of work mode very slowly.
Yeah. Are you carpoolers? Who drives? Who's in the front seat?
Is this a metaphor or reality?
It's all right. It's not that dodgy. It's not like it's not,
James, we're in the company of young people here.
Yeah, we are, yeah.
Are you carpoolers? Do you guys pool much?
Can you?
Well, I can't drive. I've never.
Ever?
Passed my driving test 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
That's obviously like, there's not like a deep irony if you're spending a life on the road and not being able to drive.
Well, no, I've been driven all my life.
I mean, who used to do the driving back in the day?
Richey.
Richey was the original driver.
Yeah.
Was that like part of the reason why you got him in on the group? He was like, he's got a car.
It was part of the package. Part of the package.
It was a brilliant overall package, but it did help. He hired the van, and my dad gives a chair, which we quite illegally tied to the back
Yes.
in the van. So you had the van,
Yeah.
and the gear plus a chair which was tied, which I used to like.
And the
sitting
back
in.
door that didn't close.
I've got this like vision in my head of like the Beverly Hillbillies. Remember they used to tie the chair to the
Thank
top
you very
top
much.
of the car.
You wouldn't be far wrong.
So like I like to start every podcast with playing like an early demo.
Yeah.
And we've got like two kind of options for you guys: a motorcycle emptiness in brackets, the South Wales demo,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or Behave Yourself Baby, the home demo. I'll let you pick which one.
Well, they
I think the first
only
one.
choose one. They do go together because they became the final version of Motorcycle Emptiness because we James nicked half of Behave Yourself Baby and put it into Motorcycle.
Yeah.
But the original Motorcycle, which you're going to play, which was an ode to Rumblefish and the Jesus and Mary chain,
Yes.
and it kind of glides, and you can just hear what it would become.
Yeah, you hear the gestation going on. There's no guitar riff in it.
No.
You look so disappointed.
Never mind.
Right, let's slap it on.
Oh, good distortion.
Has this been heard anywhere before? Like it?
Yeah, it was some
Yeah.
dodgy bootleg album it was on, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was just called Lipstick Traces, actually, wasn't it? It was not our Lipstick Traces, but a bootleg. And, yeah, I still remember doing it. I still remember where we did it. We did it in Cumvell in Bach,
Yeah.
I think. Was it?
I think there's a simple like. I can still remember the first demo I ever did. We won a battle of the bands and got into a studio
Yeah.
in Coleraine, and we stared at the back of some guy's head for 8 hours, and
Yeah.
came out with something we were deeply unhappy with.
Yeah,
Nearly a story.
we were quite controlling at an early stage.
Like I posted about like doing this today, and like you guys have got like seriously like incredibly
fans.
mental fans. Yeah, it's brilliant.
They're just obsessive. I think they're as
Yeah.
obsessive as we were growing up about other bands, really.
Keep
We've
us-
transferred it.
Kind of keep us to the flame kind of vibe, you know?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
kind of vibe. Sometimes they say valuable things, which makes you realise where you made mistakes. And sometimes they go a bit too far.
Yeah,
And that's cool. I don't mind that.
That's what fans are meant to do.
Exactly.
Sean on BVs?
Yeah.
I don't think I played bass, did I?
You did.
Did I?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, it was good for me at that point.
That's your style.
It does.
It is your style.
Oh,
No,
how
it is, it
generous.
is.
How generous.
No, that's your style. Very hooky at that point. It's like, God, you can't respin that.
Yeah.
JD, are you JD today?
JD Bradfield, rebranded.
I used to love that role. Moro.
It's my 12-string acoustic.
Who's playing the tambourine?
Laurel. Sean. That's Sean's backing vocals. Hey. Little shotgun baby, little shotgun baby, little shotgun baby.
And that was Motorcycle Emptiness.
An early version.
Yeah,
Very
really,
early.
really early version.
Yes.
What memories come to your head when you?
Well,
when
we
you heard that?
recorded it in the basement of Cumvell Miners Institute
Yep.
with Glenn and Tony, of the producers and owners of SBS Records at that point. And they were really cool with us.
What did the old miners think of you guys rocking up and
Well, at
recording
that
that?
point, it was the mines are closed.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know.
of course.
The mines are on there, 9 Mile Point, and it's the all those pits were closed. So it was kind of a shell of a place, really, and people were just renting out rooms. But that institute was amazing because it had this swimming pool in the bottom.
It's huge.
But that's where the studio was. It was in the swimming
The
pool.
Miners Institute had a swimming pool.
They were amazing.
Makes it
places.
sound very Beverly Hills, doesn't it?
No, it wasn't Beverly Hills. It was just a great place. I mean,
Yeah.
it was the equivalent of miners giving a pound out of their not a pound back then, but they gave like a pound of their wages for like 2 years or something like that towards those institutes. They had libraries, concert halls, swimming pools, just really beautiful places.
Yeah, I've got to big them up. I wouldn't have been able to play this otherwise.
No, well, kind of at that point, it was just really cool. I think we had a massive ambition for that song. As Nick said, it was kind of obsessed with the Francis Ford Coppola's Rumblefish.
Yes.
That film, which we just all connected to in such a strange, visceral kind of way. And that kicked the lyric off, didn't it?
It did. And Richey had this obsession with writing, as the Jesus and Mary would call it, a biker's song.
Yeah.
And he really wanted leather and motorcycles and rumblefish. And even listening to that, I remember we did have really high hopes for it even then. And then it kind of got lost for a year or two.
Yeah.
Then we went back in the studio with Steve Brown. And James merged it with the other track, and all of a sudden it started to come formulated as the longest guitar solo in history, as I call it.
He was Steve Brown was a great guy. You know, he was really traditional, kind of like coming out of the 80s kind of producer. He produced Wham and he produced Lemmy and
The Cult.
ABC and the Cult.
Yeah.
And like he was just sat listening to these demos, and he was just like, yeah, it sounds shit. But like, there's something there, and you've got to write a guitar riff for it in these bits. And we would have meetings, and he said, you've got to write a guitar riff for that. And it was just really good having somebody that focused and seeing through, the youthful exuberance and amateurism of the demos, and just saying, no, it's going to be brilliant. You just got to do these things to it.
There's definitely like a really rough element to it.
Oh yeah.
What year was it recorded?
No, I'd say it's 1986, 7.
Yeah.
Wow, right.
The 80s, yeah.
Yeah.
And I never realised we're an 80s band.
We have every decade.
Yeah.
We've different auto in every decade.
Yeah.
How does that feel? Which decade feels the most comfortable?
Well, what's that, 30 years ago? Oh, my
It's the year
word.
the year I was born.
Oh, my God.
Oh, gee. I can't believe it, man. We're so old. Yeah, fuck all that. We don't care about it. But kind of, I think mid 90s was very comfortable, wasn't it? We kind of understood the mid 90s, I think. The noughties, we understood the noughties as well.
Yeah.
Now
Which was the
the
shittest? Which was the shittest to like
Don't ask that
be
question.
in a band? Surely it was the 80s, right?
Oh, no.
No, you thought it was shit at the time, but now you realise, it was a time when you realised you could identify what you had affinities with, you could identify who was your enemy or what was your enemy, politically, culturally, kind of sport-wise, everything.
And you had the Smiths, you had Echo and the Bunnymen.
Yeah, you'd like all great indie groups.
Yeah,
I mean,
all
when
those,
you watch
all those indie groups that became massive, but really started on indie labels and had time to develop and grow. And then at the end of it, you had Guns N' Roses, which blew us away, and we became absolutely obsessed with. And McCarthy, who were one of our favorite indie bands ever. The Cure. So you could belong to a tribe. You could be a goth, if you wanted to. It was like a definite kind of thing, or you could still be a slightly new wave and a punk throwback.
you could be elitist without being a snob.
That's something that like I always pain with like in my teenage years and like early 20s. I can't identify with anything. I grew up like listening to your music and listening to like just loads of different stuff, and like being able to like say you're a punk or you're like a goth or you're like new wave or whatever. When I was like a teenager, all we had was new rave, which was like the shittest of all shit.
I don't know. There was something.
Oh no, it was just like Top Man t-shirts and like bands with like really crap angular riffs. Oh Jesus, what were we doing back then?
I see it with my own kids that there is a gap there. There's a sense of belonging that there's just nothing there for them. There's no good music or anything like that. There's always good music, but there is not a particular thing where just for a year or two you can say that's where I am.
I think my theory is that the record shop, you only had a certain amount of money a week to be able to go and buy a record, and you didn't have enough money to be able to be a little bit like online. You can get anything, and you can get into anything. When you bought an indie record, you'd want to go buy another indie record because you wouldn't want to try a jazz record because you didn't have enough money.
You have this sporadic nature now where everything is overlapped, and and everything is at click of a finger. I've noticed my daughter certainly. I've noticed loads of records disappearing from my record collection, going into hers. There's big gaps in my CD. The whole of Sonic Youth had just disappeared and gravitated to her bedroom.
Jesus, that's a big discography as well.
And the Smiths has gone.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of reassuring. But I don't think there's anyone that fills that space now for them. Because everything is overlapped. Every genre, everyone mixes everything, which is probably good for music, but not good for that strata of belonging when you're young.
And also, you identified with people that were very opinionated in the 80s. Ian McCulloch, Morrissey, Marky Smith.
I want drama in my life, but I want drama in music. That's where I want to see it. I want to see bands fighting with each other. I want to see them like going that this band is the shittest band about, or saying that this. I quite enjoy it.
Well, it's still. I guess it's why one of the reasons Liam is just still out there on his own as a true kind of.
Oh man, like Liam Gallagher.
Kids love him.
Yeah, he's incredible. Like
he's fearless, and it's not easy to be like that. As you get older, to still keep that level of venom
and rage.
Exactly.
And just not worrying about any consequences of anything you say. That's brilliant. It's a talent.
He just doesn't give a fuck. Like not even slightly. I want to talk about Guns N' Roses because like they were a big influence for you guys starting out. But I like Appetite for Destruction when I was a teenager was my anthem. Like that was my album. I love that.
I mean, Appetite for Destruction is just this misconception, in the record industry or amongst music journalist circles that it's easy to make music like that.
No, it's not.
And it's not.
It's really, really
hard
not.
because it's easy. To a degree, it's much easier to make experimental music where there's lots of space and you can slot things in and you can just endlessly just like decide where, you can make esoteric decisions that kind of like that have no bearing on the vocal or the narrative or wherever. With something like Appetite Destruction, you're dealing with lead weights. 5 lead weights, like Izzy's guitar, Slash's guitar, Duff McKagan on bass, Axl just wanted to be at the front all the time, Stephen Adler on drums, everything is there. And to actually mix that together, to weave it all together, to make it graceful sometimes like it is on Rocket Queen or on something like Sweet Child of Mine where there's grace. But also just the chemistry of it, Again, I'm going to quote Marky Smith when he said, today there's a problem with music. There's too much rock and not enough roll, kind of thing. And that's what the Guns N' Roses did.
Yeah.
They reintroduced the roll back into rock.
What about the way that you guys started? I want to talk about the early shows, like the very, very, very early ones, because between.
Are you from Coleraine?
No, I actually went to Coleraine University.
Talking about early shows, we played one of the worst but brilliant shows ever in Coleraine University.
At the university,
it was phenomenal.
Yeah. I got they do 1 gig a year in the 3 years that I was there, and I was wearing a military tunic, right? As I was, I'll get this a bit, but exactly.
Okay.
I'm an Irish Catholic wearing a military tunic, right? That shit did not go down fucking well at all in the slightest.
I don't know if I want to be around you when you were drunk. If you make decisions
exactly.
like that.
If you look closely at my nose, right? It's a bit bent out of shape.
I can see something going on
for simply that reason. But I remember getting kicked out of a Christy Moore tribute night at Coleraine University in my first year and was banned for the rest of my duration at that university. But what was it that was so bad about that gig?
No, it was bad in a brilliant
kind
of way because the boys had bought me a brand new bass. What was Def's make? What was that? Charvel. They bought me a brand new Charvel bass, which I'd never ever played. And we played Coleraine University to about 22 people, and I just absolutely trashed it after about two songs.
Really? Cameraman trashed in the studio.
Half the studio just came down there.
He's joining in.
Earthquake.
And there were only 12, 18 people there?
Oh, yeah.
To say the least.
I think it was 22. I've got my diary in there. Yeah. And it was an amazing... We went to... Did we go to Giant's Causeway on the way?
Yeah, we go around Giant's Causeway.
Did you do press shots there?
No. We just went
Stone
there.
Roses and Led Zeppelin. They all did
me and Richey and Eddie got swept off the Stones and Giant Causeway.
Yeah.
We did this mad tour of Ireland. The tour manager was driving when he called him and just drinking whiskey all the time to keep him up.
Colin Burns.
Yeah. And it was quite scary.
We went to the Bushmills.
We went to the Bushmills distillery.
Yeah.
I was nearly sick.
You did it. You did it all.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, no,
That's
we did.
basically most of Northern Irish tourism. Like
No,
done,
it's
done.
not. No, it's not. I Dulce.
Oh, dulse seaweed.
Yeah. That's the first time I'm addicted to that stuff when I can get it.
Addicted to
Absolutely,
seaweed?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, but the way they dry it and turn it into a crisp there is just beautiful. It's gorgeous. And then the girls at the gig, they were saying the biggest thrill was like going into the railroad tunnel. And then when the train went through it, it sucked all the air out, and it was just really exciting. We were like, please don't do it again. It's just like, and everything. They were really cool Manics fans even at that point.
But like those years between, because you started in '86, but like your debut album came out in '92,
Yeah.
right? So like, what were those 6 years? Because like what happened in those 6 years? Like, what were the growing pains that you had
Right,
as a band?
Me and James wrote our first song last year of Comprehensive. It was called Aftermath, which was about the miners' strike and the devastation left. We had kind of, me and James were in the same class. Richey and Sean were in a year above us. So we kind of started writing songs together at that point. And, you know, a lot of rubbish. You have to, obviously at that point, there's a lot of filtering just to find out where you are. James had been obsessed with the first Billy Bragg album, so there was a lot of Billy Bragg-isms musically at that point. Quite a few lyrics about not having girlfriends,
Antisocial.
all that kind of stuff. But by, I think, 2 years down the line, we started, you know, under the severe influence of the Clash, especially the Pistols and McCarthy, the lyrics did start becoming more political. And then Sean joined. Then Richey started driving us, and I started writing lyrics with Richey in university. And all of a sudden, the dots were joining.
Yeah. And like, how long was it that you were sort of a band that you had that moment where you were like, oh shit, we're actually really good. We can do this. This can be like a legitimate life.
For me, I think the first time I felt like we were a really good band, and Nick might disagree with this, but the first time I thought, yeah, we can turn people on, so to speak, was when we did this gig at the Horse and Groom at Great Portland Street.
Yeah.
Bob Stanley had arranged it. Bob Stanley of St. Etienne. And so we thought, all right, this is just going to be, you know, it might be awful, but, you know, we'll play this gig and probably just go back home and say, you know, they hated us and we hate them as usual.
Exactly.
And kind of like, we turned up and it was kind of full from the upstairs room. It was about close to, I'd say about 70 people there. And we played the first song, and everybody just really just applauded wildly.
Yeah, is that confusing? Because like
it was confusing, but
like,
I turned on to that. I thought, no, we're as good as I thought we were. Kind of.
But like I come from a small town in Ireland, like Oma, right? And I've always had like a chip on my shoulder about bigger places. So before I moved to Belfast, I thought everybody in Belfast is a knob. Yeah. Then I moved to Belfast and realised everybody in Belfast is lovely. And then I was in Belfast, thought everybody in London's a knob. And then moved to London and found out that was true. But but like, did you?
We were.
Did you have that?
Me in particular was up for confrontation at any point.
Yeah.
You know, we'd done a gig in Blackwood Little Theatre early on, and now it turned into a riot. This is back home.
A proper riot as well. It wasn't
what, like the cops were called and
yeah, everything. The crowds ended up smashing the piano,
smashing seats up and everything. And it was a lovely theatre.
Who were the people at these gigs? Was this teenagers or was skinheads or what?
There was some. There were a lot. I want to affiliate the club to some of the
football fans.
There were some football boys there.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
Well, like a firm.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But one affiliated to a team.
But we were we did enjoy the confrontational element, and that gig James is talking about, probably the first time we've ever felt a bit of love. And I was taken aback. You know, I had all my quotes ready in me to you know, throw out and stuff. And it's like, I don't know what to say now. They're actually really clapping us. And, you know, me and Richie had really spray painted our shirts, and we had a brilliant uniform, all white shirts with purple spray paint. We nearly choked ourselves in our room doing it because it was with car spray paint.
I had a black jumper on where I cut the nipple out so you could see my nipple, and I wrote,
I'm on about Horse and Groom though.
Horse and Groom, sorry, gotcha.
When we had our...
You can remember the nipple show?
Yeah, that was the Blackwood Little Theatre, but we had our completely uniform on for the Horse and Groom. Yeah. And we did look, it was the height of baggy music, and we did look like aliens.
We looked tight and clean.
Really tight and clean, and they give us extra money at the end, which we gave them back because we felt guilty. Yeah. They'd made some money on the door.
Yeah.
And we said, oh, well, no. We only getting the 25 quid, don't worry.
Mm.
And then we drove home in the van.
That was kind of like part of the reason, not maybe the reason you started, but like part of the raison d'etre probably if the group was to smash the sort of baggy vibe around about that time, was it?
Pretty much smash everything. I mean,
yeah.
we were reactive against everything that was around us. We did feel like that there was so many easy targets.
You weren't going and taking pills in Manchester at the Hacienda or
No,
hanging out
no.
with Sean Ryder or any of that.
We did actually like a lot of that band.
Yeah, we did like the Mondays, and we definitely like the Roses. You know,
Yeah.
definitely.
You can't not like the Stone Roses.
No, but we knew there was something in the lyrics, and we knew there was a
They sound like the
with
Birds.
the Roses. No, we knew there was something in the lyrics with the Roses, and they'd like, we knew that kind of, John Squire was a bit of a situationist fan and all that kind of stuff. And then with the Mondays, you knew that there was a working class social documentation going on in his lyrics. And you knew that he was making up his own language. He was the first person that did it since Marquis Smith, really, So we knew there was something there, and they'd been produced by John Cale. We knew there was something going on. But the rest of it, we were pretty disdainful.
But we also knew that we couldn't be there. We had gone through different phases as a band. We'd sort of had a period of being very kind of C86. We'd gone through a period where we'd been trying to be more Joy Division. But the kind of format that suited us was rock music.
Rock and roll.
And that revolution rock.
It was.
Yeah.
They were. You can call it a bit cliche, but we were. The Clash at that point were our greatest influence. That we were.
But we're not.
We'd seen them do Garageland on the TV, and we just thought that is.
Yeah.
If we could be that,
We're not going to go down that route, but having the minor strike as a backdrop, it all ended by then, obviously, and we were left with a detritus. And
What is it ties Welsh musicians together? Like you can tell a Manc musician from the lyrics.
I think it's pretty much an obsession with melody. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
and
so.
voice. I think there's very few most Welsh bands have really, really great singers, whether it's James or Keris, Kelly, Griff,
Charlotte Church.
yeah, Badfinger. There is something in our DNA that just produces really brilliant singing.
Phil Taggart.
This is the first ever Slacker podcast. This is the halftime, suck an orange, sit down, chat to the manager a little bit. We're going to go out for the second half and give it 110%. But we're going to play the full version of the Motorcycle Emptiness demo from 1986 at the very end of the podcast, where we're not all talking over it, so you can hear it in all of its glory. In the coming weeks, we have got podcasts from Wolf Alice, Gary Lightbody from Snow Patrol, The Vaccines, Leon Bridges, Novelist, and a load more. We're going to do 16 in this series, so I'll tell you all about it in the coming weeks. Still to come on this podcast, though, from the Manics, we have got how the music industry has changed since the 80s, cassette tapes, and bands versus brands. Now back to the garments and the chaos. I want to talk about the sort of the motifs and the fashion sense of you guys from the very beginning, because it's always been like prevalent from day dot. Like, it feels like it not as important as the music, but definitely something that's like thought of quite a lot.
Yeah.
As I was saying earlier, like I used to dress in a military tunic and probably cross-dressed more than I probably should have in my teenage years. You know that
cross dress as much as you should.
yeah, fair play. But that sort of old saying is like, what is it? More than two shakes is playing with yourself. But you inspired me to like go out in my hometown and dress in military stuff and like have weird haircuts and stuff. And
Well, it was weird. It was kind of like I do remember some, having things in my head where we'd be walking up Blackwood High Street in around about 1986, 87, and Nick and Richey would be, dressed the full nines in terms of just wearing a bit of mascara, hair done up, and Richie had his purple denim jacket on and skin tight white jeans and Cuban heels, and kind of like Nick, would have beautiful little scarf on. Nick and Richie were looking really effeminate, and you're walking up Blackwood High Street, and Blackwood High Street on a Friday, Saturday night was just full of Blackwood rugby players.
yeah.
You're not
getting away with that.
No, but they did.
Really?
They were never challenged. I remember thinking, it takes guts to walk up this high street on a Friday and Saturday like that.
Me and my friends used to have like a stock phrase just in our head, because it was always abuse from passing cars that we would get. It would be like, cut your hair or whatever, and like, we were just thinking we were really smart. We'd be like 16 and be like, cut your hair, and we'd be like, read a book.
I mean, we did glory in the isolation of it, if you know what I mean. We did glory in the.
Yeah.
It was us four against the world. It did really feel that we were so tight, and the pathway seemed quite easy then. For us, it was like, right, it wasn't even make a great record. It was get on the cover of the NME,
Yeah.
get on Radio 1, get on top of the pops, job done. And bizarrely, we did it within the first 12 months. From Motown Junk to You Love Us, getting on top of the pops. It wasn't,
That's a fast move, like.
But obviously, I didn't take into account writing the songs. But, for the image side of it, and all those plans were, especially to me and Richey, they were just as important as the music. And obviously, that's because we knew James and Sean were going to come up with the goods.
I struggled with the look sometimes because I remember trying a bit of mascara. I looked like one of my uncles that had spent all their lives down the pits, but they had that constant coal dust in there. They couldn't get rid of the coal dust in their eyelashes, and I just looked like that. I was just.
I think you were more Phil
work.
Daniels at the end of Quadrophenia, just a hint of it when it's running. That's how I like to think of you back then.
More Phil Daniels, kind of like meantime.
There was a gig about 2 years ago. I've got a friend who's he makes like kind of ambient burial style beats, and he goes under the name Unknown, and he'd forgot his mask at home, and he was about to sort of step up onto stage, and he was like, I've got to put something over my face. Like, I'm called Unknown. I can't just walk out there and stand behind the decks and do this. And he pulls out a balaclava, and it's a Northern Irish showcase. And I'm just like, are you fucking mental? Are you fucking mental? You're Northern Irish.
Well, you can talk with your tunic, but that was a step too far. Yeah.
I'm like, you're Northern Irish. Yeah. There's a load of English press over here, and you're about to play ambient beats with a balaclava on. I'm sure you've never done something like that. Like, you ended up on top of the pops with a balaclava on, with your name written on top of it. And I just love, I just love the fact, like, if I was in this band, I think one of the proudest things I would have is the most BBC complaints ever.
I was uneasy about it. I was uneasy about it.
I know, but like, you've got half the nation hating you and the other half going, oh, this is amazing. This is incredible to watch.
Yeah, it was the peak of our nihilism. It's obviously the Holy Bible, full military regalia at the time. The apocalypse look, which we'd kind of stolen from the Bunny Men a little bit from their period of using it, but we'd taken it to a different level. And at that point, we were so committed to the cause. We really were everywhere we went.
You wanted to tear everything down around about that stage, so yourselves and everybody else.
Exactly. There was nothing constructive at that point. It wasn't like it was just everything. It was humanity.
I just kind of enjoyed when everything clicked, when you're on stage and everything just clicked and the crowd were just really on the point of violence, but just having a good time. I was kind of living for that moment. That's right.
Do you feel like you have to get into character for a record, or can you just be yourself and play the songs?
I think he does.
Well, yeah, but I think when we redid the anniversary of Holy Bible, it is actually a state of mind record. You can't fake it. So when we played it, it wasn't the most enjoyable tour we've ever done. But it was so challenging because you can't just go in there and play Archives of Pain as if, come on.
Yeah.
You just can't. You have to really treat it with a kind of a level of seriousness and nastiness.
Were you glad to get off that tour then?
I was.
Yeah.
I was a tiny bit. I mean, I think the last, on the tour itself, the last 3 shows were at the Roundhouse, were they?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously,
I think
the Cardiff Castle gig, but I remember waking up for the Roundhouse gig and I just woke up, just kind of borderline flu, but heavy cold.
Yeah.
My voice was gone. And I was just,
I don't know how I'm going to do this.
I can nearly. So it's more of a challenge physically than anything as well.
Have you ever had to cancel gigs before and pull gigs because of
3 times?
Not that much over the year, but it's
3 times in 3 times in the journey that you've gone on is not bad.
I think Nick's favourite one is the one I cancelled in America.
Because he did have, he assures me he had a cold as well, but he was pictured by the NME with a whiskey and a fag like this. Sorry, by the Melody Maker. And then the cover of the Melody Maker was Manic's cancelled gig through influenza.
He loved that one.
Cancelling a gig is one of the horriblest experience. If you are close to a show a day or two and you have to do it, it really is so painful. Yeah. James, we had to take the decision away from him because you can tell when he can't do it, and it's so painful for him to do it. To cancel is just a thought.
Sure, even when bands go on tour, you're living in a very close-knit community. If one person gets sick, and the fact is, your immune system must be all over the place. Especially when you're younger and you're drinking and whatever, right? Yeah. When your body just goes, or your mind just goes, and it must be just difficult to get up and do that. I don't think people.
Well, I stopped drinking on tour in 2003. because I realised I'd lose my voice if I drank whiskey
Yeah.
after a show every night. So that's gone. Yeah, if somebody's on the bus that's got a cold, I tend to kind of like
Quarantine.
kind of like,
See, this is
I kind of like stay away and just like hide myself in some kind of like stratosphere.
so like how have you noticed like the music industry changing over time?
How
'Cause,
long
like,
you got?
Like, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it's-
honestly, I'm really interested in it because like I started my band when I was like 14, 15, and I've been chained to it ever since, and I can't get off. I'm like a fettered goat to the music
know the
industry.
feeling.
Well, absolutely everything has changed. Obviously, the formats have changed beyond recognition.
But the formats were always changing.
They were always changing,
vinyl,
yes,
mini disc.
but it was still
CD.
tangible, obviously. That's changed.
I think the obsession with platforms, it got to a point where it seemed like the platform you listened to the music on was more important than the music. What are you listening to? Someone's got this new way of listening to exactly the same song in exactly the same way.
Yeah.
And it's just because, God, really demoralising. But, I mean, we released cassette singles when we started.
Yeah.
Coming back.
Which is coming back.
I did that whole thing of like recording radio onto like cassettes and stuff.
Yeah.
And the first ever single I bought was Park Life, I think, by Blur on cassette when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. But even at that stage, like when I got CDs or whatever, I had proper liner notes and I had all that.
Yeah, no.
Cassettes to me were just a thing.
I love CD is my favourite format. I much prefer it to vinyl.
Really?
Yeah.
Why so?
It's just easier. And I actually like the slightly cosmetic sound. I don't need to hear 1,000
The crackles.
analog waves on a vinyl. I've got a lot of vinyl, but I love CD. Cassette, I've found all my old mixtapes and ones that Richey did for me and James did for me when I was in university, and they'd send me. So that's been really. I put it on, and I find everyone gravitating to my room and listening actually in my house because they're like. Everything is sequenced really well, and there's loads of great old stuff on there. That James used to do all these soul things for me. Richie is all C86. So I've kind of rediscovered all that.
There's a certain romanticism around playlists and mixtapes
Yes.
that I really love. Like I think one of the best presents I ever got my missus, still to this day, was just a mixtape that I made her, and that was it.
It's very touching.
Yeah, but like I think you can say a lot to somebody that you can't say in a mixtape.
Yeah, James did one brilliant one with Colourbox on and Blue Aeroplanes, which I've still got, which I refound all these, They kind of feel like precious things.
Yeah, like my first girlfriend gave me a mixtape that had the undertones and about 5 tracks of it on it because her dad was into it, and then I was just like, my perfect cousin. Yeah.
Mike Edges.
Wednesday week, I love.
Wednesday week is
Wednesday
amazing.
week, she loved
Yeah,
me.
she
Wednesday week,
comes.
never had me at all. Dun, 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 dun. And that Petrol Emotion, of course, which came on from the Undertones, they were a massive influence on us growing up.
Yeah, they're really good.
It's a good thing. V2.
I think the other things that's really changed in the record industry is, well, not just the way music's accepted is. I suppose there was a quite healthy, harsh judgment from the music press when we were young. I think younger. I think we got slagged off for doing a festival 2 years in a row.
What, really?
Yeah, big time by the enemy.
And for doing too many festivals in 1
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
But
too
we
many
only did
festivals.
3.
Yeah,
You couldn't really get away with anything at that
and
point.
obviously, you had the old Bill Hicks judgment that if you, let your music or your work advertise a product, then you're off the creative roll call. And we kind of lived by that, but now, obviously, a young band's gonna need and want to sync. They need
everybody
it.
needs syncs these
They
days.
do.
Like,
So that's a gigantic change.
I've been
gigantic.
like there's fucking no money about
No.
anywhere, like in terms of
Yeah.
stream, especially with like guitar bands and rock bands, because like on the digital platforms they don't do well.
No, completely.
and they don't get the love.
Well, when we look at our numbers sometimes, which I'm kind of obsessed with that, and you think, oh, Silent Emptiness video's been viewed 8 million times now. Then you get a check for 26 quid or something, and you just, that doesn't seem quite fair. You kind of write it off, which you can't as a young band. We're lucky enough maybe to be a bit blasé about it because I just don't know what it all means.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Well, like if a band gets a sync now, that's the difference between
It
them
is,
being
yeah.
able to go record another EP.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
judge a band for taking a sync
No.
unless it's something which is, truly offensive or product,
Yeah.
because we know the reasons why bands do it, So that's a
mean,
massive
when-
change. But when I get depressed now, if I get into a new band and, and I kind of buy their first or second album, I keep thinking, I think like I did when I was 18 or 16, can't wait to see what they do in their next record. Then I think, will they get
Will they get a next record? Yeah, but it's
so
like
that depresses me.
But when you see like Dylan doing like a Victoria's Secret ad or like Iggy Pop doing a butter ad or something, I'm like, you don't need the money. Like, you don't really need the money that much. Like, maybe you're doing it for a
I
swimming
think
pool or something
actors
like that.
doing watch adverts always winds me up or stuff like that.
Bam! They got a voiceover career.
Yeah.
For a bank, after just perpetually condemning people all their lives.
But
And
it-
as soon as
I'm
they get a
available
sniff,
for
they're in
voiceover.
there.
Available for voiceover right now. Have you guys done any adverts?
One advert for the Paralympics, which say we use an instrumental of Design for Life for Sainsbury's, but we give the money back.
Yeah.
We give it back to the, I think it was Paralympic.
Just right as well.
Association.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then somebody from that
was it.
organisation said, they'll probably get good publicity from this. So we're like, oh, okay, sorry about that. No, we did do one.
Welsh Tourist Board.
We did do a Vodafone one with, it was design, I think it was one of the Stealth Sonic.
No, we didn't.
I'm sure we did.
We didn't.
I'm sure we did.
We've
But
never done a
the
Vodafone
Design for
one.
Life was used. I can't remember who it was that used it, but it was a political party that used it really out of context.
Yeah, I mean, it just happens. You've got no control over that, have you?
But surely you can, like, when they use your
Yeah,
track.
you just say cease and desist once they've done it, and then they stop.
Yeah.
So
I think it's always really funny when politicians use music out of context. Wasn't it? I think Born in the USA was used
Yeah.
It was.
in a presidential campaign, thinking that America's great. Let's play Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA, and you're like, right, you don't really know what that song's about, do you?
No, Bruce wrestled with that constantly. I think he'd constantly say, "Oh, people, we get a bit where you stole the sun from my heart," which has become quite a wedding song, and it's actually saying, "You sucked the life out of me." You stole the sun. You took the light away.
It was his lyric to the band saying, "Stop making me fucking travel around
Yeah,
the world."
it was. And it's use at weddings and some funerals, which I guess is more appropriate.
Yeah.
But like, do you feel as strongly about like politics in your music now as you used to, or is that fever still the same?
I actually think I'm just so uncertain and so confused generally about the total cross-pollination of political ideas and, the lack of sort of a stance you can take. I think that the tenets we grew up with of
It was us and them.
the Cold War, sort of preoccupation with the Cold War, it was just everything was much easier. And I do find it really difficult to disseminate. And that does make you, as you get older, you just become just confused to the point of apathy, which I don't like about myself at all.
I think. I think I think I remember saying a couple of times, mid-period Manics, that everybody should vote, and people die for the right for you to vote and all that. But sometimes things do get so bad where you actually feel as if no one deserves your vote. I think, there is a place for that sometimes. I think. I don't like being like that either.
I've got two final things that I want to do before we finish up. I want you to sort of impart some wisdom and knowledge on some of the younger acts that are starting out. I don't know anything.
No. I've been asked to go to the Cardiff version of Music Institute. What's it called? Sorry,
Like your BIM.
Yeah,
sort of
like
stuff.
I've been asked to go there and talk to some younger musicians and stuff and all that. And the only reason I say no, well, two reasons I say no is, I know that I can be a complete fuckwit. And and the other reason is that kind of any advice I could give them is totally irrelevant. The way we got record deal, what we had to deal with, the journalists, the judgment from the music press, all that's gone. It's all completely different. So what advice can I give a younger act now? There's not much.
It's just to sort of trust your own instinct, really, and just go at it as it goes. I'm trying to put words in your
If
mouth.
they want me to go up there and just try out some platitudes and just go, there's good music and there's bad music, I can do that, but it's no point. I'm just not. It's not being lazy. It's not being apathetic. It's literally, you live in a different world.
Yeah,
you understand it more than I do.
I'd like to say, read books and infuse art into your lyrics, but really concentrate on your words. But who wants that? You know, I may want it, but no one at the public doesn't want it.
It doesn't mean it doesn't add up to us saying we think all music is shit. You know, we've just done some lists.
different.
You know, we've just done some some playlists for people because we're on the promo trail, and there's stuff like Julia Holter on there. Anna Meredith. White Hills. All new stuff that I've bought in the last 2 years or so, unlike this stuff I bought this year. There's still records I buy and like and enjoy, but we are just living completely different times, and it's unrecognizable.
I think I'd look to maybe Wolf Alice at that scene.
I love those guys.
Yeah, they seem like such a tight band. They seem to have a foot in both worlds in the sense that you can identify them in an old school band where, like Gang Against the World thing.
Big time.
And they got a kind of modern perspective as well. And I love the lyrics. I love the way they look. And live, they really front up. They are not there just to entertain. They really are.
Yeah, they have a lot to answer for. It was this time last year, I think maybe a week ago, I went to Weatherspoons with them and got really drunk.
That's good to know.
I got really drunk.
That's good to know.
Got really drunk with Weatherspoons, drinking like 3 pounds beers.
They didn't demand to go to a kind of an artisan brewery and
no.
a pint of inebriated hogwater.
Theirs is
like
the
that.
Rochester in Stoke Newington. I live right beside it, and
Well, they drink just straight Carling or something.
basically cans of Red Stripe, and we went to a bowling alley straight afterwards, and on the taxi on the way back to my house, I asked my missus to marry me, and I blame Wolf Alice for that in the best possible way.
Red Stripe and Wolf Alice.
Exactly.
I suppose they are proof that it can be done. One of the best support bands we've ever had.
He spotted them, straight away.
And that our fans can be very judgmental, and they really kind of fronted up.
Well, guys, thank you so much for giving me your time for the last hour. And,
Pleasure.
Because I've always wanted to sort of sit down and have a conversation with you guys.
That was really cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will find out next week exactly how Wolf Alice can front it up, because they will be the guests on the Slacker podcast. And I'm very, very excited about that. We're going to be sitting down with Ellie and Theo from the band to have a chat. But I have to say massive thank yous to Nicky and James from the Manic Street Preachers. It was an absolute dream come true for the first podcast of this series, of the Slacker podcast, to sit down with two legitimate idols of mine. To while away just over an hour was absolutely amazing. That's what the Slacker podcast is all about, playing those early demos from incredible artists, and we will be doing that over the next 15-16 weeks. And you can subscribe to the podcast, that would be amazing. You can rate the podcast as well, which would be even more amazing, and you can comment underneath it. Also, which would be really cool, is if you could reach out to me on Twitter or Instagram at Philly Taggart, 1L in Philly. To be honest, it's Philly Taggart, but I just can't correct myself at this stage. It'd be good to hear who you would like on future podcasts. We're going to end now with the Manic Street Preachers Motorcycle Emptiness demo from 1986 in full. I'll see you again next week for our podcast with Wolf Alice.
Motorcycle emptiness. Motorcycle emptiness. Emptiness. Baby. Phil Taggart, Slacker Podcast.